the 16th century, the most consequential century in England's history. The century that saw a nation tear itself from the grip of Rome, break the chains of religious monopoly, and set the foundations for an empire that would stretch across the world. At the centre of it all, one man, King Henry VIII. He is remembered for his 6 wives, but that is a distraction. His true legacy? Power. A power so absolute that when the Pope denied his divorce, Henry did what no king had dared before. He excommunicated himself. England was no longer a servant of Rome. The Church of England was born, and with that, the king turned his sights on England's most sacred institutions, the monasteries. For centuries, these grand estates had been the guardians of faith and the keepers of vast wealth. Henry dissolved them all. Lands that had once belonged to monks were handed to England's rising merchant class. Men who, in the centuries to come, would carve out the vast colonies in America and beyond. This was the moment, the break that would allow England to surpass its great rival, the Dutch, a monarch's ambition, fueling the rise of an empire. But Henry's defiance of the Pope was not the only threat to the old order. There was another, a man whose crime was not power, but words. William Tyndale, the man who gave England the Bible. For centuries, the Bible was written only in Latin. Only the clergy could read it. The people, they had to take the word of the priests on faith. Faith that the clergy had not twisted its meaning to serve their own power. Tyndale refused to accept that. He would give the English people their Bible in their language. And for that, he was declared a criminal. Even Henry, who had torn England from Rome, saw Tyndale as a threat, a man who could undo the control the church held over the hearts of the people. But here is where history twists in the most remarkable way. The twist? Well, her name was Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was Henry's most beloved, the woman for whom he had defied the Pope. She was a fan of William Tyndale. His words spoke to her, and in a moment of passion, Henry sought to impress her. He invited Tyndale to the royal court. But Tyndale was no fool. He was in Germany, hiding in the company of none other than Martin Luther, the man who had ignited the Protestant Reformation itself. He knew what awaited him in England, and so he refused the invitation from the king. And so, unsurprisingly, Henry's patience ran out. Tyndale was hunted, captured, and in 1536, he burned alive at the stake. His last words? Lord, open the King of England's eyes. And in a final bitter twist, his prayer was answered. Just 2 years later, Henry ordered an English translation of the Bible to be placed in every church in the land. Tyndale had won. His prayers had been answered. The birth of a new England and the mind that defined it. To be or not to be? That is the question. William Shakespeare, the greatest storyteller who ever lived. The England of Henry VIII had been a land of power and upheaval. The England of Elizabeth, his daughter, was a land of expression, and at the heart of it stood one man. Shakespeare was more than a playwright. He was a mirror for the age. His histories glorified England's past. His tragedies examined the human condition. His comedies spoke to the people, rich and poor alike. His words shaped the very English language. More than 1,700 words we use today were first penned by his hand. He captured the soul of England at its most transformative moment. But England's greatest act was still to come. The greatest creation of all. The 16th century had forged a new England, a nation no longer bound by Rome, a nation of rising merchants, new ideas, and unshakable ambition. And that ambition would soon cross the Atlantic. In the next video, we follow the next chapter of England's great story, the birth of America, the colony that would one day become the most powerful nation the world has ever known. But never forget, before there was America, there was England. And it was in this century, the 16th century, that everything changed.